Joining us to talk more, we've got economics columnist for the Washington Examiner. We've got Tiana Lowe-Dosher, as well as U.S. Army combat veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan and national security expert Ricoh Danielson. Thanks for joining us, both of you.
Rock and roll.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Now, earlier on the show, we had Tom Barron on from Real Clear Politics, and he said that as Americans, are heading into this sort of bizarre week between Christmas and New Year's, what they're really concerned about is what's in their wallet right now, affordability right now. So President Trump, he's meeting again in person right now with Ukrainian President Zelensky. But how important is it, Tiana, for him to get a deal done politically for him when folks are concerned about winding up this war, but also concerned about what's happening in their own wallets?
Look, foreign policy usually does not drive elections. Affordability and cost of living and the hangover from those 4 years of Bidenomics really have been top of mind. There was good economic data to indicate that the worst may be over and that things might be improving with really robust economic growth. Trump has staked a lot of his presidency on being the peacemaker in chief. And in part, this 20-point deal that has been modified by Zelensky, it is based on the Trump deal. And he has been working on this for over a year now, because remember, the back channeling began basically as soon as he won that election last year. So Trump wants a deal. In the long run, it is a good investment to get a deal, because it means we no longer have to subsidize the Ukrainian defense, which is something that we do have to do. And so, there's still a lot of discussion about the territorial swaps. Zelensky wants to go by the principle of freeze the battle lines where they are, and he needs that Article 5 style guarantee. And that's the only way out of the war. Otherwise, you will see all of us spending more on it.
Well, Ricoh, we knew this meeting was coming between Trump and Zelensky, and, we were hoping that we would see some calm from Vladimir Putin. But over the last 48 hours, we've seen him amping things up instead with hundreds of drones, dozens of missiles, killing at least one person and injuring dozens as well. We know that the president spoke on the phone with Putin before this meeting. He said he's going to talk to him again. What do you expect? Are we going to make any progress after today? Is anything going to be moving the needle?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, the big bad bear, Putin, he's rattling the cage of Zelensky. He knew he was coming here to make a deal, specifically in that 20-point plan of asking for an increase of 800,000 troops. And remember, that's going to increase not only from the United States, but also NATO countries and also possibly African countries as they import fighters. So the whole purpose behind Putin kind of rattling his cage and shooting over those 100 drones and unfortunately killing innocent people is to make sure that this deal doesn't go through, because in the event that this deal doesn't go through, Russia has a lot to gain, and the United States is going to be pulled into a war, specifically territorial war. And it's going to be unfortunate that Putin has to play this game, unfortunately.
And Tiana, the infamous meeting between Zelensky and Trump in the Oval Office that turned into a blow up, the president was saying, you don't have the cards. You don't have the cards, when Zelensky was in some ways, almost demanding these security guarantees, which he knows he needs to keep Putin from continuing to march through Ukraine, or even more through Russia, or through Europe. But does he have more cards today? How are the Europeans coming forward? They had this phone call yesterday. We've also had the Canadian Prime Minister pledge $2.5 billion in loan guarantees, not gifts for weapons. But does Zelensky have more cards today than he did a few months ago?
He certainly has more cards, not only clout with the Trump administration, right? He made nice, put on a suit. Trump likes that. But practically speaking, you have Sane Takachi in Japan committing more money to the Ukrainian cause. You have the Europeans waking up and realizing, Donald Trump is correct that they have been free riding off of American defense spending. And it's why you have people like Giorgia Meloni and even Keir Starmer really getting a little bit more robust about defense spending. But crucially, the number one tool that Zelensky has is the fact that time has been on his side. In a war of attrition, Russia has lost. We know that the numbers are not real. We know that they've lost far more people than they are conceding. But the hard and fast stats are that Russia's dealing with about 20% interest rates, 10% inflation rate, the gutting of its prime age male workforce. the Russian economy can't hold on for this much longer. And, because Putin is a dictator, he's able to quell a lot of dissent. But, like with the former USSR, Russia's bark is probably a lot louder than its bite at this point. And I think that Zelensky is hoping that Trump sees with the mineral deal and a security guarantee that the fates of the West and Ukraine can be linked.
All right. Well, we did hear President Trump when he was standing out there taking questions outside of Mar-a-Lago with Zelensky. He did say he believes that the European leaders really do want to get a deal done. What do you think makes this different, Ricoh, from all the other times? President Trump also praising Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner. But we've been close to this before. What makes this different?
Yeah, I think it's a seasonality of warfare right now. Right now, it's a very cold time to fight. So a lot of movement from the technical perspective is not being pushed. The lines are not being pushed. Putin's not getting the progress he has. And then on top of that, the buy-in from other NATO countries. The United States is giving more support, more money now. I see a lot more tactical advantage being given to Zelensky right about now. And then on top of that, the funding of more warfare, long-range missiles, and also tactical missiles. So I think at this point, the pivot is going to be changing. The tables are going to be turning here shortly, and then we're going to see a lot more progress in regards to peace treaties, peacetime, but also not only from a warfare perspective. We'll probably see more capital real estate gain from the Ukrainian forces, and then pushing back the Russian forces.
Tiana, how closely do you think Putin is watching these talks? Former KGB, I was talking to a national security expert earlier who said Putin doesn't understand any kind of pressure unless it's a boot on his neck, like literally as tough as it can get. So what do you think he's doing? He likes to play mind games. How closely is Putin watching this?
Well, Putin does love these psychological profiles. As that Wall Street Journal report was, I believe that was earlier this month, showed, Putin knew exactly who his mark was in the U.S. delegation, and it was Steve Witkoff. And it's true that Steve Witkoff, especially early on, was really being played by the Russians. When meeting with Putin, was relying on Kremlin translators instead of bringing the whole, team at his disposal of professional career diplomats. And so, I think there will be, from Putin's perspective, he will care psychologically. Is this another, is this an ambush? Is this an ambush against Zelensky where he is put into that very defensive posture where he lashes out from, I always think that exhaustion is an incredibly understated factor in these negotiations when you're dealing with people crossing time zones across holidays during active wars. And so what is Zelensky coming from a show of strength, or does he seem defensive again?
Ricoh, I'm going to give you the final beat on this. We do have to go. It did seem like they're off to a cordial start. He did put on a suit. He was sure to say thank you multiple times this time, talking about Zelensky here. Quick beat, and then we got to wrap it up.
Yeah, Zelensky knows the game now. He knows who's in charge, and he knows that the United States will respond with force on force. So that's the best card he can play right about now.
Okay, economics columnist for the Washington Examiner, Tiana Lowe-Dosher, and U.S. Army combat veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan, national security expert Ricoh Danielson. Thanks for joining us.